how to build this kind of treasury resilient. So we have an IT specialist, and you will talk about Astran and corporate treasurers to explain the view of corporate treasurers. So maybe a brief introduction, Frederic, from yourself, and then, yeah.
Yes, good afternoon. So I'm Frederic Capraro. I work as a director in Treasury Corporate Finance at RTL Group in Luxembourg for 10 years now. So RTL Group, it's a media company. We have television in Germany. We have also 50% of M6 in France. We have radios, and we also produce content, TV shows, and series that we sell to Netflix and other. And resilience is very important in our business, especially for the media, as you could understand.
The broadcasting. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Yahya. I am one of the 3 co-founders of Astran. We built the company in order to ensure that your most critical process continue running no matter what. So basically, this is for you, because we have a hint that you can find on some books outside, like the critical payment that can be critical suppliers payment, can be payroll, can be your debt. So we can discuss that later on. And basically, the main objective is as this: when your IT is down for whatever reason, and of course cyber is one of the biggest one, you will switch to a platform that is ready for you to tell you step by step what to do with needed data, with the full auditability and traceability, and making things easier afterwards when your IT is back to push everything that you did during the crisis.
But before talking about Astran, so are you focusing on treasury processes, so all finance processes and key and critical processes across the company?
So it's a very good question. After the COVID, there is a move or a shift of an approach that is called the minimum vital company, which is basically for a full company. What are the most vital activities that need to run no matter what? Now, let's project into a crisis that I don't wish for you, of course, but during a crisis period, the cash is the key. I mean, there are other things that are very important too, but if you follow the cash, you will follow the most important processes. And based on our customers, if they are in manufacturing, for example, the supply chain payment are very important. If we are in a situation of insurance, like gathering the claims and paying them also. If we are in construction, we need to pay suppliers and the workforce. So payroll is also very often coming there because there is a social part of it. But also, without people, you do nothing. So, yeah, it's general for the full company. But when you want to think where I should start with the cash. And then you will have all the different vital elements coming in.
Okay, so Astran is a relatively new company. So when have you started the company?
Yes, so we created the company in 2021. So you understand with after COVID now. Since we raised over 10 million, we have 4 customers like Sanofi, Eiffage, Elior, and Vinci, only big customers that are aware of the need of resilience. And you are 16 people specialized into this unique topic.
Not necessarily B2C companies, but also B2B. But
exactly. We are B2B for companies that can be B2B or B2C. And
so it's a solution that you apply a bit à la carte depending on the current structure of the customers. So.
Yes, definitely. Actually, think about it as you have your daily IT. We don't want to replicate it because it took for you too much time and effort and energy and money to do it. You have something that is small, but that is always available. Uptime, it has been built from the ground to stay up and running no matter what happens. Into that platform, which is Astran, you will put only and exclusively only your vital processes. So it's the way...
Simplified?
It's a simplified way of doing your daily job, but during a crisis period. They are simplified enough because, think about it, you don't have all the people during a crisis, but it's complete enough to pass through all the compliance and internal audit also. So whatever payment that you will do during the crisis period, at the end, you can have the full traceability of who did that and when, with separation of duty, with everything that you are doing in your daily life, but in a more simplified process.
I was mentioning that we are in Luxembourg, so we know that the financial institutions have a lot of pressure from regulation to be, let's say, resilient and to protect the data, etc., because some data could be sensitive. What about the corporate? Do you think that we will be also forced in the future to comply with a minimum of resilience?
So, giving you some insight of the past 5 years, the first motivation is the cost of interruption. Then the second is compliance. The first one is, I don't know if you heard about it, it was just last year, Jaguar Land Rover, they lost £200 million because they have been stopped for doing business for 4 weeks. And Mark and Spencer is like almost 400 million, for 7 weeks. The issue is complexity of IT, cloud, not cloud, and attacks, and you name it, makes that as a business users, you don't have your tools in order to do your business. But we have been building, we are talking about that, the efficiency of our job today and digitization, that we are so dependent on them. If you don't have them, what are you going to do? And I like the question that you had on the previous slide. If you don't have your TMS, your ERP at 7 p.m. today, and your payroll is tomorrow morning, what are you going to do? And this is the first motivation.
Interesting.
And the cost of the interruption for the business side is so huge that it's count between 5 to 30% of company margin. So it's really huge. Second motivation is DORA, is NIS 2. In UK, it's PCA, FCA, resilience, and so on, you name it. And all of those new regulations, they change something that is new, let's say, from the past 4 years, which is we don't ask you if you have a plan, if you have a BCP. We want you to have an execution. And this is something that I heard very often from companies that have been hit by a cyber attack. They say, we don't have lack of plans, we have plenty of them, but we don't know how to execute, actually. So, yeah.
No, it's maybe a question for Frederic. So we always talk about BCPs. We know that some members have no BCP at all, but some have BCPs, they're well prepared. They claim that they have also a DRP to recover the next day the data from their system from the former day. But again, it's very hypothetical, because if you are not able to recover the data, so whatever the BCP, so you are highly depending on IT.
Yes, we highly depend on IT. For sure, we have the business continuity plan with a DRP in place. Also, because for historical reason, ATEL in Germany is on an area in Cologne where they are used to find a bomb from the Second War, so they frequently have to deactivate and ask people to stay at home. So, but this for a long time. BCP, we used to have it. We have also some solution. We have a backup for the payment. We have an electronic banking system that could replace, in theory, our bank communication tool. We have also some security incidents management plan in place where we know in case of cyber attack or issue what we need to do in terms of fraud, but also in terms of system leakage. But true that we never experience a system within the payment workflow that went down, okay, and such as a payroll tool or a production system. So today, in theory, normally we are backed because we have our own BCP, but we have also some provider where contractually they have also their own BCP. So normally, if the system does not work, TMS does not work, they have a certain RTO to recover the solution. But still, we never experienced to reproduce a payment run manually in our electronic banking system.
It remains a theoretical exercise. So if you don't have the ERP, so you will be embarrassed. And you need to test it, because a BCP, if it's just planned, as you say, not tested, you have big surprises.
Yeah, of course. You need to test it, and also you need to review also your security feature. Today, for the one who use the SWIFT, so they have the customer security program, where you are forced to make a self-assessment of your IT SWIFT environment. And I think this one is a good exercise to do, not only to challenge, I would say, your system by external auditor to make sure that your environment is well protected, and so on and so on. But it does not prevent switch off.
Because we are talking about incident at the level of the company, but it could be also incident at the level of the supplier, IT supplier, I mean.
Yes, so this is a very important comment also mentioned by Frederic. Let's say you have your TMS, it's in the cloud, and it's working really fine, and you paid a good premium to have a very nice SLA on it, always on, always available. In order to connect to that TMS, there is another technical tool, so technical dependency, that is centralizing all our logins. That tool is the first thing that hackers will attack. So your TMS is still running, but you cannot access it. So this is something where you think that because you are in the cloud, it's okay, but here's an example where it's not okay. Another example is we chain a number of tools. So there is an ERP very often that is providing the data for the TMS, and it's going to do the payment from the TMS and so on. If the ERP is down, actually the full process, the full critical process is actually not possible. So here it's a dependency of flow of data, if I can say it this way. And our IT today is more and more complex because we have more and more pieces. And so dependencies of the full chain or the weak point can come at any moment into that chain.
So the sophistication, the fragmentation, the multiplication of solutions, and it's a paradox, because the more efficiency we gain because of IT, the less robust we are.
It's completely true. We were talking about a book, talking about that earlier. It's completely true. You increase your efficiency, you increase your dependency on tools. Without tools, you cannot do anything. It's very good to do this part, but just think about the other side of it. Also build your resilience. And your resilience is not a matter of only IT, as you are mentioning it, because if you are hit by something, again, I'm not wishing that for you, but it's my business. If you are hit by this kind of things, IT is focusing on rebuilding, not answering your questions. And one of the head of treasury that I was talking with, he was telling me, you know, my CEO is calling me for the payment, not calling for IT and saying why we could not pay. So it's a business responsibility also to own your perimeter.
We should be accountable, but maybe a question for you, Frederic. So do you think that it's an IT, because a lot of our members have tendency to say, okay, yeah, but it's an IT issue at the end of the day. And I have the impression it's still a treasury issue.
Yes, especially because if there is no cash, there is no business. So I think one of the important things when a crisis happens is to know, okay, where is your cash? If you have today, you have to know where is your cash. Is it real time or day to day? But it's important that when the crisis happens, you have cash and you have enough cash, because the fact to have enough cash also will give time to your management to take the right decision and not just to react on time.
Any comment? So I guess that the COVID was certainly useful for let's say, reconsidering your organization and the different cases of outages or of breakout or electricity lockdown. So were certainly good factors to plead for reconsidering the organization. Is it something that they self easily to the management, or?
Very good question on the fact that now it's brought to the highest level of the company.
C-level.
Yes, exactly. Because before it was an IT issue for having IT running, full stop. now IT more and more, it's not 100%, let's say, completely transparent in all companies, but more and more they are transparent enough to say, guys, if you are hit hard, Jaguar and Mark & Spencer, they have a very good IT people. We need time to rebuild. It's just logic. You cannot make it smaller, okay? So do something else from your end. And COVID brought this attention to the C-level. So the C-level, they know if there is a big crisis, what is very important from what is less important. Because if we ask all the business users, everyone will say it's important. At the C-level, at the C-suite, they will know what is important from less important. As an example, I have this pharmaceutical company. They are doing cosmetic, but also life-saving drugs. So when the crisis hit, they didn't say, we will rebuild everything. We will rebuild first the life-saving drugs. And for that, what do I need for the supply chain? So this is the definition of my master data of the critical suppliers. And from that point, they say, okay, those are the guys that I want to pay, including electricity, energy, this kind of things. Okay, now we have our list of critical payment. And of course, payroll, because people that are working in factory, so I'm taking manufacturing use case here, they are paid by the week or by the day, depending on their participations. And so without paying them, we are in France, it's a riot. So there is also the social part of it. So this is another payment that is mandatory. And of course, I'm not going to tell you about your schedule of debt payment and this kind of things that can be very impactful if not respected. And this is where it's coming from the top. And this is COVID bringing acceleration to this.
No, Frederic mentioned a good point. So if you are a Swift user, direct or indirectly, you are supposed to fulfill the internal controls, the mandatory controls, plus the, let's say, optional controls. So that's also a good way to be forced by the system you use to have a better resilience. But the problem of this control is the cost of the control, the time you spend, and the conclusion where you must invest again and again in system. And so it's a never-ending story. I guess you confirm?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, absolutely, François. And also, on top of this control and prior what it's done, is also treasury will make the choice before something happened about how much liquidity should we keep, how many banks do we have to keep, because for sure if you have only one banker, it's difficult to have a plan B. Okay, whereas if you have a multiple bank or multiple channel to issue your payment, of course, when something happens, you have more solution. So it's important also to keep this in mind before something happens, before to have any systems to split your risk. To split the risk.
So we could, let's say, claim that we are never enough prepared for this kind of situation, and so
for sure you will never be prepared 100%, but at least what you already know, you don't have to think about it during the crisis, and you have your brain for whatever else is unknown at that time.
And when a customer you mentioned, and we talk about one of you, a pharmaceutical company, a big one, a multinational company, and so they are with world activities, so I can imagine that the process could be severely hit. So how long does it take to build this kind of resilience, to be ready? Is it a long process?
So there is something also, maybe back to your question on COVID, BCP was seen by everyone as, we have to do a BCP. It's a long something that is at the end a PDF, just a check. Do we have one? Yes. Okay. So it's a kind of heavy for, we don't see the value out of it. After COVID, we see the value of we need to do something pragmatic. So here is the approach that we did with Sanofi on their critical payment. And we are allowed to say it, they are sharing it publicly. So basically, they are a big company. They have payment factories in multiple places of the world. They have ERPs, you know them. They have TMS, you know them. And basically, what we did a very pragmatic approach, which is we will take every day the list of the invoices that are already booked from their SAP. Like this, as soon as we need to do a cut, we have at least this one. From that one, we do a step where we do filter on the due date, the non-blocked vendor, this kind of things, in order to be sure who are the ones that are candidate to be paid. Procurement services, they select which are the ones that they want even into this first shortlist. And at the end, it's sent to the treasury, which they push the button and they have the file ready to be paid with web banking. So we have minimum complexity of IT, but with which we can pay thousands of transactions if you need. And this is, like we were talking about it, how you can make numbers even during a crisis.
But maybe a final question. I would like to see or to hear your comment, both. I don't have the impression that a lot of companies are communicating on the system. So, being a stakeholder, being an investor in Sanofi, you mentioned Sanofi, I would be pleased to see in the annual report or in the communication that the company is resilient, because it's the kind of thing that, as an investor, you would like to make sure. You would hope that a Jaguar or Mark and Spencer situation or many others are not, let's say, possible in your case or case of your investment. So I feel that the communication is quite weak in terms of, and on the other side, it's a risk of reputation, let's say, impact for the company.
Today, companies, they put this on the risk side without saying which risk is it exactly covered into.
The risk matrix.
Exactly. And they pay, for example, for cyber insurance. The cyber insurance is giving you money afterwards, and if they gave you the full money. So basically, we don't see that in a transparent manner, only for the few companies that they put it as a competitive advantage. So, for example, Sanofi, they put it as a competitive advantage, saying, no matter what, we are organized in order to provide you life-saving drugs, no matter what. So, into that situation, you say, okay, there is an advantage there on their competition. If I have a choice, I will go with them, for example. So, it depends on the strategy of the company. But now it's shifting, I know slowly, but it's shifting from competitive advantage or company strategy into a survival thing. We were talking about some AIs, but in the good way afterwards, that now today they are detecting vulnerability faster than human, and they can take profit out of it. So today we have this list of vulnerability. Tomorrow it's like an explosion of way where we can be hacked, actually. And we need to be prepared for that. Just I give you one last number. Big companies need 70 days in order to close a vulnerability. So imagine now if we are going to have thousands of them per day.
To fully close. And to recover, it depends. So is it something that you also feel in your company and your parent company?
I think, yeah, till you are not fully protected, I think you will not make any status of your situation. I don't say it for RTL, but I think it's more a global comment. Now, yeah, at RTL we are working on a policy for the resilience part. I think it's ongoing also due to the fact that we have new cyber attack, etc. So we have to increase this and define a policy to a resilience policy, where also within this policy you need to determine the fast decision taking also, because today in such crisis you need also to have a plan in terms of decision and not have a decision happening after 1 week. Okay, so this is also part of it. But to come to your question, I don't have all the information on this.
Yeah. But you know, the funny part, one of our customers used our product not for a cyber attack, but because they did an ERP update, and the old one was shut down, and the new one was in a gray area, let's say. So they had to do something for 72 hours in order to put it back in business. So this is also another way for being resilient. It's like whatever happens, again, not only cyber.
But to conclude, maybe we can say that it will become very soon a best practice in treasury to be fully resilient, to test it, etc. And if you want to get more information, so you have this, let's say, leaflet. You can find it. This one is in French, and you have also the other one you produced and we exchanged last time.
They're all available on the website.
On the website of Astran. So I think it's quite interesting because it's a 8-pager, and you will certainly find in this booklet a lot of interesting questions and tips to try to sell it and bring it
and the good
to the
part
attention
of
of
it,
your management.
we didn't do it, let's say, of course, there is a bit sales in it, but we didn't do it as Astran. We brought into a room 20 treasurer of largest company in France, and we asked them what is critical for you. How would you do during the crisis? What are your main thoughts about banking, the number of banks that you need to have, and so on. So this is something done by your peers, if I can say it this way.
And it's a good idea. Maybe we can conclude with that. We could organize once a workshop, invite some of you, and we already initiated some conversation with some of large corporates, and you have customers in Luxembourg, so where we could certainly try to identify what are the critical, let's say, risk, and to have a brainstorming session, something that we will consider. Thanks a lot to Yahya and Frederic for their insightful comments.